Hey guys, welcome to my conversation with Presbyterian's head coach, Mark Cody. Coach Cody, thank you for taking the time to jump on and have a conversation with us.
Sure, happy to do it, and I appreciate you doing this interview.
Yeah, I've actually wanted to do this interview since December of 2017. When you took over, I think it was December 17th, 2017.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Because it was, you know, in college wrestling and D1, we don't add many programs. And the fact that the
Uh,
Southeast was getting a new program was a huge thing. And then, I know you guys didn't start until 2019, 2020.
yeah.
Um, and it's been a busy 5 or 6 years in the world as a whole. And I'm sure in your world and everywhere else. What has the last 5 or 6 years been like in building this program?
Well, can you, I'm sorry, I think our video got cut off here. Can you see me?
I can see you. Yeah. Can you see me?
Oh, great. No, I can't see you, but I guess if you can see me, that's okay. Um, it's been quite a challenge. It's there, anytime you're starting from scratch. I've done this twice. And it's not they're both very different programs. I did the same thing in American University, started the program from scratch. They had
Hmm.
dropped it and brought it back,
Hmm.
and so it's been quite a challenge.
Yeah.
You have to be ready and in for the long haul if this is what you're going to do, and at times it can be very frustrating. Um, you know, you're we started without a mat.
Right.
We started without any
Right.
workout equipment. So I mean, we had to round everything up as far as getting that going, and and in that within that time, I've had three athletic directors and I've had three presidents. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so when you go from one president to the next, then you're starting over again, basically. And same thing with athletic directors. You're
Well,
starting.
and you weren't just starting one new program, you were starting two.
Yes, yeah, I started the men's and the women's program, and that's one of the reasons I took the job, because they really went on a limb here and said we want to start the first Division I women's program. And I thought, geez, if they're that committed, I'm in. And
Hmm.
actually, this was the first interview I've ever had where they brought my wife in, and again, realizing how important that was to have her come in.
Is that
And
right?
yeah,
Wow.
first,
Okay.
first one of anywhere I've ever been. The first time they offered to bring my wife in. So
Well, I want to just delve into that a little bit in building a program from scratch. As you said, I mean, so for everybody, if people are unfamiliar with Coach Cody, we have ties to Nebraska and Oklahoma State, the University of Oklahoma for a long period of time. You took over the program at American, where it restarted, but there was a history there, right? There was at least some people who, an alumni base or something along
yes,
those lines.
yeah,
At Presbyterian, it really was starting from scratch. I mean,
yeah,
there
yeah.
was nothing. So, what has been like the single greatest challenge of starting, and what have you kind of worked on the most that you feel like you've made the most progress over the last 5, 6 years?
Well, just bottom line was just getting the equipment together to be able uh, to to practice, and that part of it was quite a challenge, because when I came to town, I not only didn't have a place to live, we didn't have a facility yet. So we ended up, you know, we ended up, we had this facility downtown that we had rented for a little while, and which worked out pretty good for us. But it was pretty small. So
Hmm.
especially, to bring recruits in, it wasn't, we didn't have a locker room. It wasn't a regular, really wasn't a regular facility. It was an old warehouse that we'd worked out in, and it was pretty small. So, that was quite a challenge right there, just working out in there. And I remember we had the mats duct taped up on the wall.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just amazing that we had really brought anybody in at that time. But so just to try to sell this was the hard part, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, we have a great quality education here, and
Hmm.
that really helped a lot. We have a great, if you want to go pre-med, you want to go business, you want to be a teacher, this is a great place to come. And it's a first class education. And I think that academically, it's a top-notch school. So that was a big help. So
Yeah, no doubt. And for those of you that don't know Presbyterian, it may not be something that you see as far as, in college football or something along those lines, but there are some outstanding smaller institutions, and Presbyterian is certainly amongst that group of smaller institutions that have such high academic standards and such great academics on that side of things.
mhm. Oh yeah,
So was that one of the? I'm really interested in the bringing of you to South Carolina for a Division I program, to start a Division I program. I know you said starting the women's was a poll and that sort of thing, but it is very different from Oklahoma or
yeah,
Nebraska or one
yeah.
of those.
Yeah,
So
it is.
so what was it, and what do you think? Do you feel like you've had an impact on wrestling in the state of South Carolina yet? I know it's still in the very much the infancy of kind of, building the program.
Yeah. Well, I think what it was is the administration, when I talked to them, they were really going to back this. This was the first administration. They were behind it 100%. And it was pretty easy to see. And I got to admit, when I pulled into town, I said, well, we're not doing it. And then
Oh, really?
yeah, we both said the same thing. We're just not, there was nothing here as far as facility or, I mean, we knew that was going to be quite a challenge. And but then we met with the president and the athletic director and our senior women's administrator, who is now our athletic director. And we said, we've got something to think about here. So that's when we decided that we were going to do it.
That's
And
fantastic. It must
yeah,
be exciting to have to feel that way, to have that level of support to help you kind of achieve the goals of doing something that, I mean, frankly, is a significant thing for the wrestling community as a whole.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to say it's easy to go build something in Iowa, or it's so easy to go build something in a particular place, but South Carolina and here in the Southeast, ever since Title IX issues, has really it's been a challenge. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
My big thing in my next position that I was going to take after I left Oklahoma is that they were going to, they're going to value what I thought was important. They're going to back, what I thought was important in building a program. And sure enough, I had explained that to them. That holding high standards for kids, and that. And again, I talked to several other coaches that were here too, and they said the same thing, that it's just a great feel being here to be a coach. I mean, it's tough enough to have this job without having an administration that doesn't know what you're doing or how hard you're working, and
yeah.
being in a small place, they know what's going on. These people are very, tied in to what's happening here. So
Well, let's turn the page and focus on this coming year. You're hosting a prospect camp in
yeah,
October. You've got a golf outing. But the thing that kind of stood out to me as I was like, kind of looking over a few things was you have 7 home duels and
yeah.
you're bringing a lot of people. How are you working to kind of build the program as far as with your base with those individuals, because you're only now beginning to have really alumni that have
Mhm.
competed for you.
Yeah. Well, we want to make each match an event. And in order to do that, I had to do the same thing at American University. I had to actually make it like 5 events.
Hmm.
We want to do a lot of promoting for each dual meet and just have several things for people. We want to have a theme for every dual. And so, and that's why we figured we're at a point now where we can have more home duels because we have more help. Yeah, I still don't, coaching wise, I still, it's just me, and I have some volunteer people that help me out.
Hmm.
But we have quite a few now that are helping out. And I think we can get that done as far as promoting the dual meets. But we really want to try to get people in the stands. And when I was at American University, I remember the first duel, there were about 12 or 15 people there.
Right.
By the time I
Hmm.
had left, you couldn't get a seat in the place. The place was packed. So, and again, it was partly an idea of one of our boosters, Alan Meltzer, who was a big benefactor there. He supported the program. He said, "Hey, you got to make every one of these an event and have 5 different things that people can get involved in when they come." So, sometimes it might have been 3 or 4. We always try to do that and but that's what we're going to do here, is just try to make each one of these dual meets an event. So,
That's great. That's fantastic. When is that first one?
the first one is the third. The first one is November 3rd, and that'll be against Sacred Heart. So
Okay.
we wrestled them up in Albany last year. So
Hmm.
they're going to return it and come here. So
All right. All right. That sounds good. So, I want to turn to the squad a little bit before we wrap this up.
sure.
And and as we talked about before, you've been a lot of different places,
Mhm.
and you've been in the trenches as far as developing wrestlers. And
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, at Presbyterian, it's a D1 program,
Mhm.
but it's a small D1 program that is competing against the behemoths of college wrestling. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
some top level programs, your chances of getting some of those top level guys to compete against them, you're a little bit behind the eight ball as far as bringing in a really high level. So it's going to be up to you
Yeah.
to develop them and find the diamonds in the rough and make that happen. And you have a history of doing so.
Mhm.
So what are you looking for in a kid that you can kind of, polish to get to that level, for
Well,
lack of
just
a better word?
yeah, character number one for sure.
Hmm.
Somebody who's serious about academics because that makes my life a lot easier if I don't have to have any problems with them outside the room and they're serious about academics. I hold very high standards as far as developing kids. I think a lot of it has been because I've really pushed lifestyle. I have a no drug, no drinking policy, and that goes all year long. If you're going to wrestle, you're not, you're going to be very serious about it. You're going to eat good, you're going to sleep right, and you're not going to use drugs, you're not going to drink. So that's what about everybody that I've had success, every national champ I've coached, every All-American, they've all bought into that
Hmm.
as far as and doing really well on the academic side. So that's what we're looking for is I don't necessarily care if you win a state championship. I've had
Right.
a couple of guys win national titles that were never state champs, but they bought into and they had good coaching. They had good coaching coming
Hmm.
in. So there's just some things that we needed to build off of what they already had. But they really bought into the lifestyle, and that was and then you're serious about your academics. You don't get in trouble outside the room. Then that's going to make things easier when you come inside the room. Because I ask a lot when they come in the room, and then when they walk out, I want to make sure they just put it on the shelf. You're not going to think about wrestling the rest of the day until you come back into the wrestling room. So we got to get them thinking right too, just to have
Absolutely.
the right mindset.
Very cool, Coach. So, as we move to our last couple questions, looking over your lineup, you look like up top, Eli Holiday. You got two kids we know here in the Southeast, Caleb Rowe
Yeah,
and your heavyweight and Nathan Carnes.
yeah,
You got Reed Douglas. Those individuals, they're all kind of returners. Some got banged up at the end of last year and that sort of thing. Um, are they going to be kind of the backbone of your team, or are we going to see some surprises down low? What can we kind of expect if you're going to give me a little peek into what we can expect
yeah,
from the
yeah.
squad?
Well, I think we'll see some surprises. We several of them have had a good summer. This is the best summer that we've ever had, I think, since I've been here. You can't force kids to stay. You can only hope that they do, that they stay and train because it's a 12-month sport. And we've had several of them do that this summer. So, even some of the new kids we signed JoJo Morris, who was in our
Hmm.
club as a four-time state champion, and he's been here all summer. He's been here training all summer. So, along with these guys, with the four that you mentioned, with Holiday and Rowe and Douglas and Carnes, and so that I think that will really help, take us to another level. There's people like Ryan Luna who have gotten pretty good experience, and these guys, even though they've been around for a little bit, they're all freshmen, sophomores.
Right.
All of them. Even Reed Douglas, he's a third year here, but he's a freshman. So, so I think that you talk about, he's a New York State champ, so he's a pretty well versed guy coming in. But
Right.
but we look at that as that, we can help them develop, and so I think this is the most solid lineup that we'll have. Even last year, we redshirted a lot of them, and we had to uh, we had to forfeit some weight classes sometimes last year, and wasn't that was a really tough to swallow. But this year we have a lot of people in the lineup, and along with some new guys that have come in, I think we're going to be okay.
Very good. Very good. Well, the final question I have for you is because of your background and having, again, the experience that we've talked about throughout and everything else, I'm really interested in your advice to a young coach. It could be a young high school coach, a young college coach, a coach who here in the Southeast, trying to get the most out of their kids. What kind of piece of advice would you imbue upon them?
Well, stick to your principles, stick to your beliefs and be patient. Be patient because this is not, coaching is not easy, period. I tell people if you can live without this, don't do it. If you better be pretty serious and pretty hardcore if you're gonna stick it out because there's a lot of ups and downs, and you gotta hopefully keep you stay as above the downs as you can and don't just enjoy what you're doing, and that's the advice I've gotten, particularly the last few years, with building this. And when I would get frustrated, hey, just enjoy what you're doing. You're changing lives. And I think that's the biggest part of it, that the patience and don't get too low. Just keep moving and keep moving in the right direction because things will happen. Things will happen for you, especially if you're consistent. Be
Well,
consistent because even we're American, we got our tails handed to us for a few years, and then we just went straight trajectory. We got built it up to a top 5 team, and
yeah.
people were surprised by that. But what they didn't understand is even in the rough times, these kids were getting the same workouts that every national champ I've ever coached was getting. They were getting the same time, but it just depended how they responded to it, and so just stick with it, and stick with your principles, and good things will happen.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I want to wish you the best of luck this season. I can't wait to see the team and how you
Yeah.
guys progress throughout the year.
Yeah, well, thank you for covering us, and thanks for all you're doing for wrestling in the Southeast. I think it's just awesome what you're doing, and thank you.
Thanks, Coach. You take care.
Thank you.